10 MMORPGs that redefine worlds, freedom, and adventure in online gaming. 10. Black Desert Online. Black Desert Online is an MMORPG that immediately impresses with its technical mastery. Its open world is huge, seamless, with almost no loading screens, and really gives a strong feeling of continuity. The fully action-based combat system relies on reflexes, positioning, and combo mastery. This is not the kind of MMO where you simply press skills on cooldown and let the game do the work. The player is constantly involved. Where Black Desert really stands out is in the depth of its secondary systems. Life skills are not just optional side activities, they're actual pillars of the game. Interregional trading, trade route management, horse breeding, fishing, alchemy, advanced crafting. All of this runs inside a semi-simulated economy where player choices truly matter. However, despite this richness, Black Desert shows its limits in the long run. High-level PvE content is largely based on grinding, with relatively little variety in objectives. Progression quickly turns into a question of optimization and efficiency, rather than adventure and discovery. Black Desert Online is therefore an extremely solid MMORPG at its core, ambitious in its systems, but with a vision that clearly favors performance and repetition. It is an impressive yet uneven game, which explains why it takes 10th place in this ranking. 9. Albion Online. Albion Online is an MMORPG built around a very clear philosophy. Almost everything is controlled by the players. The game offers a persistent world where the economy, territories, and even the balance of power are direct results of community actions. There are no predefined classes. Your character's role is determined entirely by the gear you equip, which gives total freedom in build creation. Every weapon, every armor piece, and every consumable is crafted by a player from resources gathered in the world. PvP sits at the heart of the experience, with high-risk zones where losing your gear means losing it permanently. This creates constant tension and gives real weight to players' decisions. In return, Albion Online makes some very deliberate trade-offs: minimal storytelling, relatively simple PvE, and a deliberately clean, almost minimalistic art direction. Albion is therefore an MMORPG of systems and social interaction, extremely coherent in its vision, but not trying to cover every aspect of the genre. This very specific positioning earns it the 9th place in this ranking. 8. Lineage 2. Lineage 2 represents a design approach that has become quite rare today. A dangerous world, demanding gameplay, and a strong focus on collective play. Progression is slow, sometimes brutal, but always meaningful. The core of the experience lies in clans, alliances, and territorial control. Castle sieges, clan wars, and player politics completely structure the game world. Unlike many modern MMORPGs, Lineage 2 does not constantly guide the player. It demands investment, patience, and real social involvement to progress efficiently. Of course, this design has a cost. The game shows its age, both in terms of interface and overall ergonomics, and can be quite difficult to get into for new players. Despite that, Lineage 2 remains a fundamentally pure MMORPG, where world persistence and player impact are real. This demanding and coherent vision allows it to keep a spot in this top 10 at 8th position. 7. RuneScape 3. RuneScape 3 is a very unique MMORPG in today's landscape. Its main strength lies in the massive accumulation of content developed over more than 20 years. Very few games offer such a density of quests, skills, and interconnected systems. Progression is extremely free. Players can specialize in combat, crafting, exploration, or the in-game economy without ever being locked into a predefined path. The game world is vast, coherent, and regularly expanded with updates that integrate naturally into the existing universe. Each activity is designed for long-term engagement, with a strong sense of lasting progression. RuneScape 3 can, however, be off-putting at first glance because of its particular art style and a combat system that takes time to get used to. It is an MMORPG that favors richness, depth, and longevity over spectacle. It is a truly complete MMORPG, which fully justifies its 7th place in this ranking. 6. The Elder Scrolls Online. The Elder Scrolls Online immediately stands out for its very narrative-driven approach to the MMORPG genre. Unlike many other MMOs, each zone offers a full storyline, fully voiced, with real staging and clear narrative continuity. The world of Tamriel is coherent, dense, and pleasant to explore. Exploration is encouraged not by artificial checklists, but by curiosity and the discovery of new storylines. The combat system, more action-oriented than classic tab target, brings a certain punchiness while remaining deliberately accessible. Where the Elder Scrolls Online starts to show its limits is in ultra-long-term progression. The game favors horizontal progression, which can sometimes reduce the feeling of growth for very invested players. Even so, the Elder Scrolls Online remains an extremely solid MMORPG that successfully combines storytelling, accessibility, and a persistent world. This balanced but slightly less systemic approach than the very top entries earns it 6th place. 5. Guild Wars 2. Guild Wars 2 offers a modern and bold vision of the MMORPG. The game deliberately moves away from traditional genre codes, especially by removing the endless chase for the highest item level and max level. Its world is built around dynamic events that evolve based on player actions. These events naturally encourage cooperation without forcing artificial groups. Exploration is at the heart of the experience. Each map is full of points of interest, secrets, and activities that make you want to wander the world freely. However, this freedom has a downside. The endgame is less strictly structured than in other MMORPGs and can sometimes feel like it lacks clear, long-term goals for certain players. Guild Wars 2 is an intelligent MMORPG, respectful of players' time and extremely coherent in its philosophy. It fully deserves 5th place in this ranking. 4. World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft is still one of the most well-designed MMORPGs in terms of overall structure and content. Each expansion brings new zones, dungeons, raids, and systems designed to regularly refresh the experience. The game excels in the clarity of its mechanics. Progression is straightforward, objectives are well-defined, and the endgame offers a solid framework for committed players. Over the years, however, World of Warcraft has evolved into a more compartmentalized experience. The open world plays a secondary role compared to instanced and seasonal activities. This approach makes the game extremely efficient, but also more predictable and less immersive as a truly persistent world. World of Warcraft remains a reference MMORPG, but its more standardized and tightly controlled vision places it slightly behind the most ambitious titles in this ranking. That is why it occupies 4th place. 3. Lost Ark. Lost Ark is an MMO that impresses first and foremost with the quantity and variety of its content. The pacing is very fast, with a constant flow of activities, challenges, and both short and mid-term objectives. Its action-oriented, isometric combat system is one of the most technical and satisfying in the genre. Each class has a strong identity, with specific mechanics that demand precision and mastery. Lost Ark truly shines in its instanced content. Dungeons, raids, guardian fights, and weekly activities are all designed to offer progressive and regularly renewed challenges. On the other hand, this richness comes with a cost. The world is very fragmented, and progression is heavily directed. As a result, immersion as a seamless, persistent world is weaker than in some more open MMORPGs. Still, Lost Ark remains an extremely generous, dense, and technically polished MMORPG. It is a pure content game, which clearly justifies its place on the podium in 3rd position. 2. Final Fantasy XIV. Final Fantasy XIV is an MMORPG that stands out thanks to a global coherence rarely achieved in the genre. Its universe, storytelling, and gameplay systems form a carefully structured whole designed for the long term. The main story spans multiple expansions with clear and deliberate narrative continuity. Players follow a genuine epic conceived as an evolving tale rather than a simple succession of quests. The game also offers a strong in-game with raids, trials, and secondary activities that are regularly updated. Everything is built to respect the player's time without excessive pressure. However, Final Fantasy XIV leaves relatively little room for surprise or chaos. The world is very tightly controlled, but less systemic than in some other MMORPGs. Final Fantasy XIV is an exemplary narrative MMORPG, almost flawless in its execution, which naturally earns it second place in this ranking. 1. EVE Online. EVE Online is not just an MMORPG, it is a persistent universe entirely shaped by its players. Here, economy, politics, diplomacy, and war are central elements of gameplay. Every ship destroyed, every alliance formed or betrayed, every territory conquered or lost has real and lasting consequences on the game world. Individual actions can influence the overall history of the universe. EVE Online does not excessively guide the player. It demands thought, commitment, and deep understanding of its very complex systems. Unlike the majority of MMORPGs, EVE Online does not simply simulate a living world. It creates an autonomous ecosystem in which players are the true drivers of change. No other MMORPG pushes the notions of persistence, freedom, and consequence as far as EVE does. That is why EVE Online takes first place in this top of the best MMORPGs in the world. That's the top 10 MMORPGs that redefine persistence, player agency, and epic worlds. EVE Online reigns supreme for its unmatched freedom. If this ranking sparked your next adventure, hit like, subscribe for more deep dives into gaming masterpieces, and drop your number 1 in the comments.